Welcome, everybody, to episode 11 of the Jeff and Nick Show. Happy Friday to you, wherever you are in the world. I'm Nick. Yes, this is a baseball shirt. 6 plus 4 plus 3 equals
Double play.
double play. Jeff,
How many times do you get asked what those numbers mean?
the first time that I had it at home, Nichelle looked at me and she goes, "There's something wrong with your math here." And
Yeah.
I laughed. I said, "No, babe, there's not. It's a double play." I said, the shortstop's number 6, the second baseman's number 4, and the first baseman's number 3.
That's right.
And she tried to do it in her head, and she
Like,
said,
doesn't
add up. Doesn't add up.
My buddy Butch has one of those, and yeah, I've been out with him. Like I think we were shopping for something for church, like for a thing, and he wore that shirt out, and dude, like 5 people stopped us at the grocery store to ask what that meant. Like a couple guys were like, "Oh, I like your shirt, I get it," but most people were like, "What is that? Doesn't add up, right?"
Yeah, right. It doesn't add up. It does not add up. Let's start with mound visits from last week. Jeff, what do you have? What do you want to start with?
All right. Yes, the director of which one did we do? 42, Brian Hegland. I think I said he did. I thought he did. I can't remember what I said now, but he wrote L.A. Confidential. He wrote Mystic River. He directed Knight's Tale and Payback. That was and I love L.A. Confidential. Was a really good movie. So was Mystic River. So he wrote.
So was Knight's Tale. Knight's Tale was with Heath Ledger, right?
Yeah, with Heath Ledger. Yep, that was his first one, I think. Payback, I think, was his first, and Knight's Tale was number 2.
You did say L.A. Confidential.
Yeah, yeah, he wrote that one. I was thinking maybe he directed it, but he wrote that one. Really good movie. Mystic River, really good movie. Clint Eastwood, I think, directed that. But
Mystic River was amazing. That was with Sean Penn and Tim Robbins.
Yeah, Tim Robbins. Yeah,
yeah,
right.
They were childhood
really
friends.
Good book. The book is amazing. I read the book before I saw the movie. It was really, really good. And the movie did pretty good job. Most I'm one of those guys. Read the books and like, this movie sucks, but that movie actually did pretty well, following the story. So that was pleasantly surprised at that movie. What do you got?
Courage Under Fire did have Denzel. It did have Matt Damon's. It also had Lou Diamond Phillips and Sean Astin.
Oh, all right. Rudy himself.
Vin started broadcasting with the Brooklyn Dodgers in 1950.
Okay.
So that was 3 years after Jackie had broke the color barrier.
Yep.
And Jackie was born January 31st, 1919, so he would not still be alive today.
No. Well, unless he was lucky and lived to be 105.
Yeah, right.
104, 105.
Right. We were talking about gas, filling up that the bus with gas, where it was $100 of gas. And it would only cost $20, but back then $20 was a little bit more than chump change because it was 21 cents a gallon. In 1946 was the average price of gas.
That's insane.
Yeah. Satchel Paige was born in 1906, and I just started a book on the 1948 Cleveland Indians, and he's 42.
I was gonna say he's 40. He would have been 40, right? If they would have picked him over Jackie Robinson.
Correct, and they wanted to go with somebody that was younger, that was going to have a longer career instead of playing for a couple and then not playing anymore. But I think Satchel pitched into his 50s.
Yeah.
One thing that we were curious about was who won the World Series in 47. That was another Yankee year.
Of course. When in doubt, just say the Yankees.
Yeah, back then, they won 20 of their championships before 1960, without a shadow of a doubt.
Wow, that's impressive, man.
Yeah. Helmets were introduced in 1941, and they became mandatory in 71.
Wow. 30 years they weren't even in the 60s though they weren't mandatory. Wow.
No, because we were talking about that after he got in the face, right on the noggin right there.
Yeah.
And then 42 was not nominated for any Academy Awards. No. It was nominated for lower awards, and Harrison Ford was nominated for Best Supporting Actor.
Oh,
so
that's cool.
Aside from that, I feel like it could have done a lot better, but I don't know what kind of ramifications you have to live up to in order to become nominated for an Academy Award.
Yeah, it all depends. Yeah. It's all politics, man.
It's all politics.
I got one here, and this goes back. I got a mountain visit that goes back to our very first show. I
Oh,
happened to see this on Twitter. I was just came across my feed. Um, there's a Moneyball and Sandlot connection. The
yes.
adult, the adult Smalls, the guy who played he was the announcer, and he was the Smalls, and he called the jet stealing home. The jet
Yeah.
steals home, and
Jet
he does
steals
that weird
home.
dance. I can't
Yeah.
stand that guy. But that is the same actor who played John, the owner of the Red Sox, John Henry, in Moneyball. Same actor, and we didn't even catch that. And
You didn't even catch that? Wow, that's
I just happened to see that on pass by my feed on Twitter, or I'm sorry, on X, and yeah, same actor who played the adult Smalls and played John Henry, the owner of the Red Sox, in Moneyball. Same guy.
are we still calling where the Kings and the Lakers play Staples Center?
I still call it Staples Center.
Then we're still calling it Twitter.
I'm still calling it Twitter.
I'm still calling it Twitter.
I'm not
We're not
Xing
calling.
anybody.
I'm not Xing anybody. I'm not calling the Raiders the Vegas Raiders. I'm just calling them the Raiders. I don't really care where
Raiders.
they play.
Need to get off Twitter.
Anyway. All right. We are going to start with two movies. We are going to talk about two movies today about two greats of baseball. We are going to start with Cobb, starring Tommy Lee Jones and Robert Wuhl, about the dying days of the great Ty Cobb. This movie was released in 1994. Tommy Lee Jones was also in No Country for Old Men, Men in Black. He was the Two-Face in Batman Forever, and he was also in Under Siege, the original, as well as a great number of many movies, as well as Blown Away. It's probably one of my favorite roles that he's in that he doesn't get a lot of notoriety for. What did you think about this baseball movie, Jeff?
Cobb, it was okay. So it was a really good movie. What it wasn't was a good baseball movie. There was no baseball in it. Like, you know what I mean? There was a couple scenes at the beginning. There was like one scene of him sliding at the end, and then there was no baseball in it. I was expecting more. I thought it would be more interspersed, present day, and like showing like how it relates back to his olden days. That's what I thought it was going to be. I had never seen this movie. I knew of it. It came out in '94. I never really saw it. Other than the trailers, had no idea about going in. But I kind of thought there would be more baseball about it. It's funny you mentioned Batman Forever. I feel like this was almost like the predecessor to Two-Face, just acting all crazy. He was kind of the same voice. I feel like he channeled that character, his Ty Cobb character, into the Two-Face, just the way he was kind of manic and he's talking fast and like that. It reminded me. The whole time I kept thinking, like, this is just like Two-Face, the Batman Forever. Like this sounds the same. He's kind of acting the same. The movie was very manic. It was very kind of mean spirited. He really didn't have any redeeming qualities, and I guess that's the point, right? I mean, I thought about when I was watching that with my daughter, and I'm like, hey, you remember? She's like, this guy's terrible. She watched half of it. She didn't really watch this whole movie. She was like, I don't like this one. But she's like, I'm like, well, you remember in Field of Dreams, didn't they say that something to the effect of like, Ty Cobb wanted to come, but none of us could stand the son of a bitch when he was alive, so we told him to scram or something.
Told him to stick it. We told him to stick it.
Told him to stick it. Ray Liotta with his little laugh. But I thought about it after, and I was like, man, most movies have some type of redeeming arc, but this one didn't really at all. He was just an asshole and a dick from the beginning to the end. He lied, he cheated, he stole, was racist and beat women, and he was just a terrible person who was extremely good at baseball.
Extremely good at baseball.
Extremely good.
Did you have a chance to look at his stats?
I wrote a few stats. Was it like over 300 for 23 seasons in a row? Over 300, a 367 career average.
Yeah, lifetime batting average 366.
Absolutely insane. That's
4,189 hits.
That's insane. Only eclipsed by one man. And I mean, was it 400? Hit 400 5 straight seasons, I think it said, or maybe 5 total. That's just insane. Where nobody can do that anymore. You appreciate the greatness of the player. He was obviously, it sounds like he was a terrible person. The movie, I was looking at the movie. It was nominated for, I don't know if it was nominated for awards, but it was on. There's a lot of people's like best top 10 lists of that year. I get it. I see it. I see it as a person who studied film. I could totally see where that came from. I'm not a big fan of Robert Wuhl in this movie. He was a wet Blanket, in my opinion. But Tommy Lee Jones, he was amazing. He really embodied that character. He did a phenomenal job as that guy, despite the, my reference to his Batman character, his Joker or Two-Face character. He did a really good job. But like I said, I don't know. For me, it didn't do it for me because I wanted a little more baseball. What did you think?
I thought the same. It was a very well done movie, but it was not a baseball movie. In my opinion, it was a story about one of the biggest assholes that the game has ever produced. Somebody that set and still holds a ton of records. I don't think anybody will ever get close to breaking his career batting average. Second most hits in history.
I mean, if Ichiro couldn't get there, Ichiro couldn't get to 367. I don't know what else is going to.
And Freddie Freeman would have to hit 400 over the next 10 years just to get to 320. I'm sure he's a hell of a hitter, but I don't see it.
No, there's no way. I mean, when was the last time somebody hit 367 in a year? Like, was there a 370? Tony Gwynn hit? What's Ariz hitting this year? I know he was 370-ish. Yeah, is he down?
Ariz hit. Yeah, he dropped. He dropped from 370.
He held on for a long time. He was flirting with it, but
he was flirting with it. Yeah,
I feel like Tony Gwynn hit 370. I think in the 90s or something.
He hit 394 in 94, but he he tailed off. Ariz is currently hitting 353.
Oh dang! Wow, he really did fall. I should look up Ichiro. I wonder what Ichiro's highest average is, because I feel like he's probably in the 330s, maybe 340. But yeah, man, 367 for a career. That's just in any day. You know what I mean? Like, okay, it was 100 some odd years ago, but dude, even still, like, that's still impressive, man.
We had talked a couple of weeks ago about the Hall of Fame voting. He had, where did I write it? He had 95% of the votes.
Wow.
To get in to the Hall of Fame. Where was it? No, excuse me. 98.2% of the votes.
Wow.
For the first Hall of Fame class.
More than Ruth, right? More than Babe?
Ruth had 95% as well as Honus Wagner.
Okay.
So those two were amazing players, but apparently nobody thought of them as on the same level as Ty Cobb. Of course, back to last week, the Negro Leagues didn't change baseball. Ty Cobb made baseball what it is in a way that you would never imagine it, where they start talking about it and they're talking about how it was a gentleman's game and, there was no room for that. It wasn't a war and he turned it into war, which now you see it, you're going to battle with these guys. And I get that. But everything about Ty Cobb just makes me despise the man as a human being. Yeah, I can think of you one way on the baseball field, but as a person, you're not a role model. You're not somebody that I would ever look up to. Yeah, I would love to hit like you. In the Shoeless Joe Jackson book that I read, Fall from Grace, Joe Jackson is consistently competing with Ty Cobb for that batting title. And I think one year he was maybe 1 percentage point off.
Oh.
But every year in that book, it was Ty Cobb and Joe Jackson, until Joe stopped playing in the 20s because he was excommunicated from baseball. Mm. But, to me, I think the biggest thing was how he held his hands, where he held his hands so far apart.
Yeah, that was wild.
Yeah.
I had to look that up because I was like, are they messing up here? But then they even mentioned at the end of the movie that I tried to teach his son or something, his wide grip, grip. Yeah. The hands apart grip.
Couldn't teach him his competitive heart.
Put your hands together.
Yeah. Eucalyptus.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
We are going to discuss.
That's what I thought about too. Eucalyptus. Yeah. I was trying to think if anybody else really did that, and Eucalyptus came to mind.
Euc was the only one. We're going to discuss our top 10s at the end of this show. So if you are listening on Spotify or watching on YouTube, be sure to keep watching. Was there anything else in this movie that you wanted to discuss? I kind of, I wasn't tuned out, but this is one of those movies where I wasn't completely invested because of how it started, because of how nasty he was to everybody around him. I mean, Robert Wuhl had to kind of stomach this, and you
Yeah.
kind of I like the story about the writer having to deal with Ty Cobb,
Yeah.
trying to figure him out, trying to figure out what he's going to write about, having two different stories, and it's like, cool, what am I going to tell the public? Am I going to tell the public about this complete asshole, or am I going to tell the public about legitimately the greatest hitter to ever play up until the 70s? So
Yeah, it was yeah, he has some good quotes in it. I like how he was like, "Can you say something good about Babe Ruth?" He's like, "He ran good for a fat man." I thought that was kind of funny. He ran pretty well for a fat man. That's kind of funny. One quote stuck out for me: "The desire for glory is not a sin." I like that. That's not a bad line right there.
that wasn't a
Um,
bad line.
what I did halfway through this movie, I wrote down this movie should be called Stump, because it was like I felt it was more about what the dude Al Stump, Al, right? I think what he
Yeah,
was
I'll
going
stump.
through, I felt it was more about him and his journey, like you said, trying to tell the story, writing two stories. It felt more like that was a story in the middle of it. It started out as Cobb, it ended as Cobb, but the middle, it felt like it was more about the writer and how he's trying to navigate with this guy. Like it should be called Cobb and Stump, or something like that. I looked into a little bit of the movie, and apparently, or in his books, the books that the Al Stump actually wrote about Cobb, because there was a lot of inaccuracies and kind of like embellishments that people were not happy about. Um, the thing about sharpening his cleats, like that was embellished. The stuff and like about all the gun and stuff like that. How he always had a gun and stuff. I think they were saying like that never really happened. A lot of stuff apparently. A lot of the writers of that day had some had some issue with the books that he wrote, and they were kind of upset about it.
I saw
Like, this
that
is
too.
like not a lot of this is like not true, man. What are you doing? What are you talking about? You're just trying to, you're basically making a fictionalized story off of a few true events. So that's just an interesting thing. Yeah, like I said, like you mentioned, it was a good movie. Ron Shelton. He also did, Bull Durham, Tin Cup. So he's in White Men Can't Jump. So he's good with the sports. But yeah, would have liked to see a little more baseball. It would have been, had a little road trippy going, but it just didn't do it for me.
I
You
was
know what I
going to
mean?
say, you got your road trip movie again.
Yeah. So I mean, maybe that was a little more redeeming quality, but like I said, it's just I would have wanted to see more. Like, who cares what he's like now at his 80s? Like, I don't know. Who gives a crap? I wanted to learn more about him as a player. Like, let's go into that scene. Let's unpack that. And for like a 10-minute scene of him running over that first baseman and like what that conversation was. And maybe, do something like that. I would have liked better to see kind of like him seeing a younger version of himself playing those games and kind of reminiscing on that, comparing it to where he is now, and showing maybe why he can't be nice. I mean, which they kind of did. He had a effed up childhood, and his
Extremely
mother,
effed up childhood. Yeah.
or that his mother's, dude shot his father, and I don't know. Like I said, good overall movie. Not my cup of tea, and not really a baseball movie.
I do have a Carl Hubble story. So, sophomore year high school, one of the coaches that I'm playing for, his name is Hubble. I'm like, oh, your name seems really familiar. He's like, yeah, my great uncle was a pitcher in the major leagues. I go, oh
Oh,
yeah, you mean Carl Hubble? He goes, oh, you know your stuff. I said, yeah, he struck out what 4 or 5 guys in an All-Star game once. He goes, yeah.
yeah.
I said, Babe Ruth, Lou Gehrig, Jimmy Fox, and he named off the other 2 guys. And for the life of me, I can't remember. Probably Harmon Killebrew and somebody else. I don't know, it was like the 36 All-Star
Oh,
game. If I'm going off of what I remember, just off of history, because you know me as that baseball history guy. And so anytime I hear Carl Hubble, anytime something Carl Hubble comes across my timeline, I always send it to him.
that's
And I
cool.
still keep in touch with him. We played in the alumni game at Bishop Montgomery last year, and it was
Nice.
nice to catch up with him. But that's, you had your Dennis Quaid story, and I had my Carl Hubble story.
There you go.
Did you
That's cool.
did you see the credits? Did you look through the credits?
I saw something. Wasn't there like a Cobb when he was? I saw somebody named Cobb that played with his younger self
I think it may have been one of his kids, but Jimmy
or
Buffett and
grandkids.
Stacy Keach
I
Sr.
I
were in
saw
this.
that. I saw that Jimmy Buffett, but I was like, that's got to be somebody else. Was that Jimmy Buffett? Jimmy Buffett?
I mean, I can't tell you that there's many other Jimmy Buffetts, because he also makes an appearance in the Jurassic World movie.
Oh yeah. He's grabbing like a little tiki drink or a margarita
Yeah,
or something. Yeah, and he gets picked up or something with a thing, right? Or he's
it's
running away from the
the
pterodactyls.
pterodactyl.
Yeah.
The chauffeur lady gets picked up by the
Oh,
pterodactyl.
that's right. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
right. He's like running in the behind. I did see that actually. Yeah.
The one thing about this movie that I did like was the that ending song. Now, it was the same as 42.
I'm trying to remember. I don't even remember what it was. It was the same as 42. Was
The
it
same as
is it an
42.
older
This one right here.
Let's hear it. I can't hear it.
Oh man.
I can imagine it sounding great though.
Yeah,
I'll have to go back and listen.
life is a ball game.
Oh, okay, yeah.
That Life is a Ball Game by Winona Carr. That was the same song at the end of end of this movie. It was at the end of 42 as well. All right, we're gonna wrap on Cobb, and we're gonna go to the man, the myth, the legend that saved baseball, Mr. George Herman Jidge Ruth.
Jidge. That was funny to hear that. Jidge, come on, Jidge.
Jidge, directed by Arthur Hiller, released in 1992. John Goodman. You know who his second wife was?
Babe Ruth or John Goodman?
Babe Ruth, not John Goodman. Claire. Claire, but the actress that played her. Did you pick up on that one?
Kelly McGillis or
It's because you were inverted, Maverick.
I gave him the bird.
Yeah, I gave him the bird.
What the bird is, Goose.
Yeah.
Yeah, Kelly McGillis.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's the second time I've seen her in a movie. I think that I looked at her IMDb years ago to see if she was in anything else, and I didn't really come across anything, but
she was in Witness. Wasn't it Witness? She was in Witness, I think, with Harrison Ford.
Well, now I'm going to have to watch that one. There's so many other movies that I have to watch now.
I think that's the only thing I think she was in. Pretty sure she was in that. I could be wrong, but that's the only one I could think of that she was in.
This movie is about a period of time in Babe Ruth's life up until his retirement. I thought it was fair. I thought the baseball scenes could have been a lot better. Of course, a lot more baseball than in Cobb, which,
that's not saying much.
And that's not saying much. Yeah, the Cobb had the least amount of baseball of any baseball movie that we've watched, and this was the 24th movie that we watched. We watched a lot of baseball movies in the last month and a half. What did you think of The Babe?
It's fine. It was okay. I remember seeing it. I don't know if I saw it in the theaters or in VHS. I remember liking it then. It was fine. I think that, like you said, it had more baseball. Obviously, John Goodman is not left-handed because he could not throw a ball. He could barely swing the bat. It probably helped him when he's flailing away, because that's probably how he normally swing when he's flailing away and missing it at the beginning. But I don't know. It was fun. It was a decent biopic that kind of had it had the ups and downs. It had a good story, right? It portrayed him. I think it was a fair portrayal. I think you said, yeah, fair portrayal. It didn't always put him in the best light. It showed his character flaws and his drinking problem and his womanizing and boozing and smoking and things like that, which I appreciate, because you could easily just make it a fluff piece and be like, oh, he's so great. And like we saw in Pride of the Yankees, like that version of Babe Ruth, he played himself, but bubbly Mr. Personality and loving everybody, which they showed that here too. But and they could have just leaned into that and made him this fairy tale guy. But I did appreciate that they showed the low points. They showed him vulnerable, and not just this mythic kind of presence in over baseball. Because it was such a long time ago that all of us we don't really know. We never saw it, but you hear about it growing up. Babe Ruth is just like a legend almost, and never really hear anybody say anything bad about him. So in that way, it was refreshing to see a realistic or try to be a realistic portrayal of his life, the ups and downs.
Yeah, I thought this was very, very close to the book that I read about him called The Big Bam, The Life and Times of Babe Ruth. It definitely went through a lot of what he had gone through in his early years at the boarding school, the industrial school for boys in Baltimore with Brother Matthias. He's also in Jurassic World. He's God, I can't remember his name, but he's the guy that owns the house in Jurassic World in the second one.
Okay. Well, that dude isn't that he's in The Babe, and isn't he in Babe, the pig movie?
He is in that movie. That's where he's from. Yes.
Yeah.
God, what
he's
is his
in
name?
Babe, and he's in Babe. Look at that.
What is his name? Brother Matthias.
Cronward.
Yeah, I didn't write it down. I just said he's also in Jurassic World.
It's like James
because the only other person that I saw that was in this movie was Michael McGrady, was played by Lou Gehrig. Excuse me. Lou Gehrig was played by Michael McGrady. Yeah, I don't want to mess that one up. Did you see when he's in the room with Jumpin' Joe? He opens the door and the room across the way.
No, I don't remember.
714.
Oh, really? Oh,
yeah.
That's cool. I didn't even catch that. That's a good one. Nice catch. That's cool.
The Orioles at this time, they were a minor league affiliate. They were an independent league. They were not an affiliate of another team. They were just a minor league team.
Oh, okay. I was wondering about that. I didn't know how that worked. Like, oh, Orioles, that was weird. You never hear about that. So they weren't part of MLB?
No.
It was just an independent?
It was just an independent. And then the Browns moved from St. Louis to Baltimore, and that's when Baltimore got baseball back, and that was in the either mid to late 50s or early 60s. Yeah. And the only reason I know that is because they had the same exact record their last year in St. Louis and their first year in Baltimore.
Oh, wow. That's wild. That's pretty crazy.
That's a crazy stat that you see he was drinking the champagne of beers when he first met Helen, and he couldn't even get her name right. Come on, Elaine, whatever the heck he called her. I like this movie a little bit more than I like Cobb, as far as the human aspect of it, the baseball player aspect of it, the actual baseball of it. But aside from that, there was nothing about this movie that really stood out to me. Yeah. Having known the story, having known what it was going to be about, I think John Goodman did fair. He looked like he gained a hell of a lot of weight to play this part. And what is it about him? He loves sitting backward in a chair.
Yeah, it's his thing, man.
It must be. Every movie that I've seen, every show, every Roseanne episode that he's in, he's
always in the backward chair. That's his thing. He's just got it. That's how he likes to sit.
Right.
There's a couple things. There's a couple things that I kind of wrote down here that they kind of hark back to like the natural. I don't know if that was intentional or not. With the lady in black, Kelly McGillis' character, kind of sitting in the stands, the only woman there, kind of reminiscing back to Kim Basinger's character in The Natural. Although that was kind of, I feel like that was intentional, maybe not, but I feel that was kind of like a little homage to the Natural there. That's. I wrote down he basically assaulted her, his first wife there on the boat. I'm like, she like looked away, he like went in for a kiss and like jumped. Like, that's kind of assault, man. I like that he KO, and I like that I watched this after Cobb, and then he struck out Ty Cobb twice, I think, in this movie. I thought that was kind of funny.
Yeah, he was a hell of a pitcher when he was with Boston.
Yeah. And then that 52-ounce bat, 52. I used the 26-ouncer last night in my softball game. 26-ounce, and he's rolling out there with a 52-ounce wood bat. I can't even imagine, dude.
You're swinging a tree.
Right? Like the heaviest one I've ever swung, I've used in a game is 30, and it's noticeable. You can notice, like 4 ounces does make a difference. I know anybody who hasn't done that doesn't think that's that's barely anything, but
it's huge.
You're swinging, it makes a huge difference. I couldn't even imagine. Yeah, it's like swinging a friggin' telephone pole. That's just crazy to think that he was swinging that. But I mean, he's a big guy, so I don't know. That was, I had to like pause. Like, wait, 52? Did I hear that right? 52 ounces? Holy
So,
crap!
so that last scene of the movie where he's in Pittsburgh and it's his last game, you can tell that it's his last game. They're talking about how nobody's ever hit the ball out of Forbes Field at that time, and that was what, 1935.
Mm-hmm.
Left field was 365 feet. Left center was 406. Center field was 457 feet.
Wow.
And right center was 408. And of course, right's a short porch for him, hitting 375.
Yeah.
So that was something that I definitely wanted to do some research on, because I know that Forbes Field was very similar to the Polo Grounds. And you'll have to excuse us. You were caught, babe. Yep, you were caught. Jeff said he saw you. That's awesome. In case you're listening to us on Spotify, my wife just crawled by us because she didn't want to be seen on camera, but she was still seen on camera.
Oh, that's funny.
I like the scene at the end. You know, he's basically pushed out of baseball. He's not given his saving grace. He's complete. He's told that he's no longer welcome. He's too fat, too slow, and he has no place in the game anymore. And one of the guys, he's like, your daddy, you know, I remember seeing your daddy play way back in the day, having a hell of a year. Mm-hmm. He's the best. To me, there is no baseball the way that it is now without the Yankees. There is no baseball the way that it is now without Babe Ruth. Yeah. Babe Ruth saved baseball. There's nothing that I can do to you can argue till you're blue in the face about what saved baseball. In the 20s, Babe Ruth saved baseball. In the 90s, steroids saved baseball.
Mark McGwire, Sammy Sosa.
Yeah,
the home run.
McGwire, Sammy Sosa.
Home run.
Yeah.
The home run saved baseball.
Yeah,
right?
Chicks dig the long ball. Let's go.
Chicks dig the long ball, man.
Yeah. We're all just a bunch of chicks.
Yeah. I looked up incorrigible because he hated that. You know, bad beyond reform. Incorrigible. So that's kind of like, dang, that's rough.
Yeah.
Calling you incorrigible. No wonder he hated being called that.
Right. Jeez. Now, in the book that I read, it also says that he did his best to stay in touch with his dad. So I think a little bit of that was fabricated for cinematic reasons. He had gone back to Baltimore to help his dad out, to help the business, because his dad owned a bar, couldn't continue to do the things that he was doing. So here comes Jidge helping him out.
I read that that runner, that ghost run, or the, what do you call it, the runner that he would use, I heard that was
pinch
fake.
Runner. Yeah,
that pinch runner. I heard that wasn't real.
I wouldn't doubt it. I didn't read anything like that.
Up. No. Yeah, I read that was made up.
So for his career, of course, he had 714 home runs, 342 career batting average, and a career WAR of 182.6.
Highest ever, right?
Ty Cobb's is. I think Ty Cobb's is higher. I wrote that down. I think Ty Cobb's. Oh wait, no, Ty Cobb's is 150. 151.5.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Ruth had the highest, and yeah.
So
interesting to see what Trout. Interesting to see what like Trout ends up or what Trout would have ended up with if he would have not been hurt these last like 3, 4, 5 years. The way his trajectory was going. I mean, he was. I mean, he's already in the 80s, and he was like, gosh, he shot up the leaderboards real quick.
He really did. I mean, because he's one of the best center fielders in baseball. Let's see.
It'd be interesting to see like what Shohei ends up with if he stays, stays healthy.
I'm in a home run pool league, and I had Shohei Ohtani, and when he got hurt, I went from first place to fourth place in no time at all. Mike Trout has a career WAR of 85.2.
I was gonna say 86. So that was close. Yeah.
Well, I mean,
for him, it's a shame.
Trajectory.
Yeah, he was on it until he got hurt these last few years and just kind of stalled out a little bit.
So pitching, Babe Ruth won 163 games, lost 147. In 1916, he went 23-12 with a 1.75 ERA. In 1917, he went 24-13 with a 2.01 ERA. He wanted to be that guy that pitched and hit, and he wanted to stay in Boston. So another thing from this book was I need to pay for my play. that was part of the reason, but it's not because of that. They could not control him. And you could tell based on the owner, you need to cut it out. You need to cut the drinking. You need to cut the womanizing, all this stuff. It needs to stop. And so that was one of the biggest reasons that they sold him to the Yankees because, okay, cool, we need to get rid of him. Well, New York took him in like their adopted son. And they didn't, Miller Huggins, the manager, he's like, you need to cut it out. He's like, I'm going to do what I want to do. Nobody's going to stop me. Not even my wife. I need a steak. And he goes and gets a steak and comes back 3 days later with a couple of horses. And that's all part of this book. Like, this is stuff that I read, and I'll even show you. The Life and Times of the Big Bam. This book was amazing, and I remember reading it. And this guy also did stuff about Dale Earnhardt, and there's a Ted Williams book that he did as well. But the stuff in this book, it's like he rolls up off of a boat, and he's got a deer strapped to the hood of the car. He's got a deer strapped to the back. He's got a bear sitting in the back seat, and it's like, this guy is bigger than life. And he really was. He really was just a giant child who loved giving back to people. And you saw that. And the rift with Lou Gehrig, I kind of thought, okay, cool, we're gonna fabricate this. But based on how he was portrayed in the movie, it's like, okay, cool, you don't want your successor to be as good as you until you start to realize how good he is. And it's like, hey, kid, let's go.
Yeah. So it was different than like Pride of the Yankees, where they were, best buds in here. But this was also probably the beginning of it. We kind of jumped in the middle of Pride of the Yankees, I feel like, when he was on the Yankees. But I like that part where they show, or all the parts where he showed how generous he was, buying all the boys, all the kids there, all the hot dogs, and buying Joe that suit. Just it shows you he was a thoughtful person, that he really did care for the people around him and wanted to help out kids. They show that other scene where he was giving all the kids a ride, and he's like giving money to go buy ice creams. He wanted to talk to the girl. I do like that. And from what I've heard, that he was like that. He did he had his dark side, but he also did have a light side where he was very generous, and he wanted to help kids who were like him growing up, that weren't as fortunate, and didn't have anything. And he wanted to give back to those kids. And you can always appreciate that. You live larger than life, and he was larger than life than in the physical sense, and out in the world in a baseball sense, and so it's like I said, it was fine. It was a decent movie. I like the portrayal of it. It was nothing groundbreaking in terms of the movie or storytelling. So yeah, John Goodman, he's anything he's in, he'll take it up at least one notch. So that was that's always good. I can always appreciate old Johnny. Dan Connor there.
I think without a shadow of a doubt, his best role was Walter Sobchak in The Big Lebowski.
Oh, 100%.
Without a shadow of a doubt. That
over the line.
I don't roll on
Sober Shabbos.
Sober Shabbos. Oh. All right, Smokey. We're going to discuss our top 10s now, because this is our 11th episode, and next week we are discussing football.
Woohoo! Football. Let's jump. We're right in the middle of football season, and might as well do a football.
It's due time. All right, you want to start with your 10? Because I have a list, but it's kind of weird because you know how I am. I'm gonna continue to be weird, because if I'm not being myself.
All right. Here we go. So I did it. I went top 10 and then 3. What do you call it? 3 honorable mentions. My number 1 hasn't changed. It's Major League. I mentioned that when we did it. That movie is still my favorite. It has good baseball. It's funny. It's got heartwarming scenes. It brings me back to a time when I was younger watching it. I've seen that movie lots and lots of times. I love that movie. I love everything about it. Number 2 is Field of Dreams. Didn't think it would be that high. I'm not a huge Kevin Costner guy, but it's just a really, really good movie. There's nothing, you can barely say anything bad about that movie. It tugs at the heartstrings, especially now as a parent. It really, I think it moved up the rankings, seeing it as an adult, not with children, and not just seeing it as like a teenager. Number 3 is Moneyball, because that's about my Beloved Oakland A's, followed by League of Their Own, Sandlot, which I think those are about where I had those. I think that top five has pretty much stayed um, about there, kind of maybe interchanged. And then we're gonna go into some numbers here. We're gonna go to 61, which I really liked. That was a really good movie. Not thinking I was gonna like it that much, and then followed by 42. I think that was just a really good. That's a really good. How Cobb was a good movie, but not a great baseball movie. 42 was a good movie and a good movie and a good baseball movie.
Very much so.
Yeah, The Natural, that's just it's a classic. I think that's one of probably one of the best baseball movies you can get. Like I said, this is not what I think are the best. This is what my personal list is. But if you tell me to rank the best, I would think Natural would probably be higher. If you want me to rank like what movies you think are the best baseball movies, that one I think really encapsulates what baseball is all about. Rounding out number 9 would be the Bad News Bears, the old one. I really like that. Looking at the list of what we've done, I'm like, I had it off, and then I was like, well, I think I like this one up there. And then we got a little surprise at the end, Little Big League. That number rounds out my number 10. Watching that movie, it's a really good movie, and I really like how it ended. Not them winning. I really like that ending where it's they catch the final out. They don't have the miraculous hit. They made that run and they don't end up doing it. I think that's a good movie. Little Big League. Once I watch it again, and we got 3 honorable mentions. Pride of the Yankees. That's just a classic. That's it's hard to go wrong with that movie. 8 Men Out. Also, I think everyone can agree that's a really good baseball movie. And then when we talked about last week, Mr. Baseball. I looked at all these and I was like, I think I'm gonna watch Mr. Baseball again over these other ones. I don't know. I was like, it was that between that one and Bull Durham, and I was like, I'm listening to our thing again. I went back and listened. I'm like, yeah, Bull Durham. I know everybody loves it. I was like, it just didn't do it for me. I just didn't like Bull Durham that much. It had a couple good things, but it just wasn't. I don't know. I just didn't like it. So I'm going Mr. Baseball. I'm gonna throw old Tom Selleck up there with an honorable mention. So that's the top 10 3, and then it's just like. The other one, Love the Game, The Rookie, Chasing 3000, Trouble with the Curve, Rookie of the Year, The New Bad News Bears, $1 Million Arm, and then very last, Major League number 2, which I think we can all agree that that's just bad. I didn't have Cobb. I didn't put Cobb and Babe. They don't rank, or they would just be on that last list there. They wouldn't be honorable mention or top 10. So, and I do want to mention. Hold on, I have to write down my daughter, because I've mentioned her a lot. Guess what? Can you guys? I'm curious what you think. What would you think would be her favorite?
Hang on,
her
let me look at
favorite
my
and
list.
her least favorite.
Her favorite
and least favorite. You won't get that.
Am I not going to guess that A League of Their Own is her favorite?
No, it's not. That's a good guess though. The 14-year-old girl, her favorite was 61.
All right.
She really liked that movie. She's like, I really like that one, Dad. I like the baseball. I like that story. I like the guys like battling it out. She really liked that one. And her least favorite was The Natural.
Dang The Natural. I was not going to guess that.
She's like, that was boring. That guy was old. She couldn't get over the fact that how old he looked, and he was like, this is just boring. And he looked like he was 70 years old playing a 30-year-old. So she couldn't get over that.
She's not wrong. He was pretty old. He was pretty old.
All right. So that's mine. Let's have it. Let's hear your crazy list.
Crazy list. All right. So me being me, weird being weird, I have a top 2, and then I have 3 through an interchangeable 3 through 10. And I've got like 7 honorable mentions that I could definitely cut.
But like 3 just don't even make it.
Yeah. Well, the last 2 movies that we watched don't make it. I have a list of, I wrote down every movie that we watched, and that's how I knew that we did 24, because this is 11th episode, including these 2 movies. 22 before that, because we did a couple episodes with 3 movies.
3 of them, yeah.
So top is Field of Dreams. Without a shadow of a doubt, I could be doing something, that movie's on in the background, and I know where the movie is.
Yeah.
And of course, we talked about it. The only thing in that movie that was wrong was Ray Liotta hitting right-handed as opposed to left.
Yeah. Yeah.
For me, it's just such a heartwarming movie. It's one that, I can watch with my kids. It's very safe for family. A lot of the stuff that we watch, it's not family friendly, The Babe movie was not family friendly. Ty Cobb was not family
Rated
friendly.
PG, surprisingly though.
I,
The Babe
I
rated
mean, back in
PG.
the 90s, okay.
That's true. Yeah, but the Cobb obviously not. That would like full frontal male nudity, and for God's
Not even
sakes.
close. Yeah, and
Thank goodness my daughter wasn't watching that.
61 not family friendly. 42 not family friendly. Bull Durham Major League definitely not. So one, two.
Major League's fine. Major League's fine.
It's fine.
Well, your kids are littler. My kids are teenagers, so
Yeah.
they're I don't have a problem. As long as the cursing is nothing I really have a problem with for them to watch. It's the nudity and sex I don't want them seeing.
I cuss like a sailor anyway, so what is it?
Me too.
Number 1, Field of Dreams. Number 2 is The Natural.
Nice.
3 through 10 are completely interchangeable because for me, there's very good baseball scenes in them. They have very good stories, and they're movies that I can legitimately watch at any time and truly enjoy. So Major League 1, of course, Moneyball, The Sandlot, Bull Durham, Little Big League, 61, 42, and A League of Their Own.
Okay. Yeah, so we pretty much had the same top 10. I think I had Bad News Bears on there.
Instead of Bull Durham. Yeah. Which is understandable. I mean, we're both baseball guys. We both like these movies. We both had similar opinions on a lot of them, aside from Bull Durham, which is understandable. It dropped on my list after all the movies that we watched. It's not a top 3, it's a top 2. And then, I was kind of thinking about it today. I said, can I make a list? I can make a top 2. I can tell you my favorite baseball movies and then have other baseball movies that I really like.
Yeah.
So my honorable mentions, and there's a couple, of course. 8 Men Out was amazing. For Love of the Game, because my mom was a huge Kevin Costner fan, and that trickled down to me. I really like the story. I didn't need the love story or John C. Reilly. The Rookie was a really good story, and we talked about that during that episode and during the next episode when we were going over it. Proud of the Yankees because of the classicness of the film, because of the story to it, because Lou Gehrig is the Iron Horse. And I like how in The Babe, they're talking about, Iron Man himself. It's like, wait, we're already calling him Iron Man? Yeah. That's Cal Ripken Jr. That's not Lou Gehrig. Chasing 3000 because of the story. And Roberto Clemente. Mr. Baseball definitely made an honorable mention. Trouble with the Curve because of, for me, the baseball scenes in it, Clint Eastwood being that old, aging out scout, having that, based on a real scout effect of it. And then Bad News Bears, Walter Matthau. I wish I had that Austin Powers queued up to say Bad News Bears, Walter Matthau. But that does my list. There was nice. Major League 2 didn't make it. $1 Million Arm didn't make it. Rookie of the Year did not make it at all. No. That didn't even scratch the surface. And the last 2 that we watched, the minute that I was done with them, I said, these don't even make my list. There's no way that
easily didn't make it.
And there's so many more.
If I would have done one before, I would have thought, like, before we started this, Rookie of the Year would have been on the top. But then, like, watching it again and comparing it to all these other ones, like, no, it's just way too corny.
Yeah,
they needed more Daniel Stern in that movie and less everybody else. They needed more of him,
especially that Scary Busey.
Yeah,
that was bad. All right,
it was.
So we are changing directives next week. We are going to do football movies. My choice is The Program with Dwayne Davis, Craig Schaefer, James Caan, who is Sonny Corleone, Christy Swanson, Omar Epps, Halle Berry.
Wow.
And Jeff, what movie are you picking that we watch next week?
The Remember the Titans, Denzel and young Ryan Gosling and a bunch of other people. But yeah, I'm gonna go Remember the Titans.
Sweet, I think that one's available on Disney Plus.
Oh, even better, because a little mad at the Torrance Library. Didn't have Cobb or The Babe at the Torrance Library. Any of the Torrance libraries.
Wow!
First time I got shut out.
Well, I'm happy that I found it on YouTube. I think
The
Program is available on Amazon Prime for a couple days. I think it's also on YouTube.
I think I saw it. Yeah. Okay.
If any of our
Check it out.
listeners are interested, I did
And
an
I
interview.
haven't seen the program probably since it was like out in theaters. It's been so I'm excited to watch that. I haven't seen
Yeah.
that in so long. I feel like I've only seen it once. The only thing I remember, the big thing I remember, besides Latimer, obviously everybody remembers him, but the sitting in the middle of the thing, I like remember that. I remember like kids dying because they tried that. So interested to revisit that.
So, on that note, if you're interested in hearing my interview with Dwayne Davis, it is on our Spotify channel and it is also on my YouTube channel. The link will be posted on our Instagram page and on our Twitter page.
Awesome.
We will have this show up. Thank you for listening. Spotify, YouTube, subscribe, like, share. Please. Thank you very much. Life is a ball game. These baseball movies have been amazing.